Liam is a failed clerk who got transported to another world, awakens in the body of a 12-year-old noble with no interest in females, but then he meets an elf baddie who makes his pickle go Super Saiyan. The story begins with a child who wakes up to find himself in a crowded ballroom and has no idea where he is, then finds a maid named Arena standing next to him, and when he finds a mirror around, he is shocked when he sees his face, and it turns out to be someone who died and moved to another world in the body of a child named Liam. After the commotion he caused at the party when he saw his baby face, he found his father Charles scolding him and telling him to behave. After he left, Arena told him that his father was in a good mood today as he finally had a daughter after having 5 boys and is the 5th son in the family. Liam tried to go along with it, although there were so many questions swirling around in his head that he thought it was all a dream and went back to sleep hoping to wake up in his normal life. The next day, Liam wakes up and realizes that he's not dreaming. He meets Arena on his way out of the room and is soon stunned to see the courtyard of his family's new mansion, and she tells him that all the land he sees with his own eyes belongs to his family. He then went to meet his older brother Bruno, who was expecting a bright future for their little sister and hoped that she would grow up and marry a member of the royal family to ensure a decent life for their family. When Liam questioned the status of their family, Bruno told him that the state had decided that all noble families would either achieve unprecedented achievements or lose their status after 3 generations. He adds that this means their family will become commoners when their older brother Albert takes over, but he doesn't care much about it. They are interrupted by the entrance of an old teacher to start teaching them magic, which makes Liam get excited, and Bruno tells him not to get his hopes up, as only 1 in 100 people are magically gifted. And when Liam learns that their family has a lot of magical books, he rushes to Arena after class to ask her where the library is. Arena guided him to the palace library, and when he entered, he wandered between the shelves until he found a book that caught his attention about fire magic, and after reading 2 pages, he decided to try casting a preliminary spell and succeeded in igniting the fire on his finger the first time. After that, he went to Charles to ask him to let him take as many magical books as he wanted from the library, and found that he readily agreed, seemingly uninterested in him, and over time, Liam read many more magical books and practiced casting spells constantly. After a month, Bruno was surprised by his ability to cast spells without using the book. When he looked at the book and wanted to try it, he failed to cast any spells and recognized how powerful his younger brother was, as normal wizards take a whole year to learn a single spell. Liam realized that his body has the ability to use magic for a long time, and his brother told him that he will be able to achieve a lot in the kingdom with his super magical abilities, then asked if he was studying to become the head of the house to succeed their father. Liam replied that he was not interested in it, and Bruno warned him before he left not to end up being a target in the eyes of their older brother. After Liam mastered all the elementary fire spells, he turned to learning ice magic, and after borrowing a book from the library, he was surprised by his father standing behind him and asked him about his ability to use magic, and he told him that he had just started learning ice magic, and Charles was soon amazed to see him mastering fire spells without a book. Charles felt proud that their family had been blessed to have one of their own mastering magic, and told Liam not to hesitate to borrow any magic book he wanted. Liam was thrilled to see his father so happy. He then headed into the woods to practice. He encountered a mysterious man named Raymond, who thought he was coming to arrest him, but soon realized he was just a kid. When he noticed he had a magic book in his hand, Liam told him he was studying elementary magic. Raymond asked Liam if he wanted to know a better and more effective way to master magic in record time. Liam turned back to him and was shocked to see him using the 5 elements of magic on each finger of his hand at the same time. He was curious to ask him how he could do it and asked him to teach him, which made Raymond admire him because he is not condescending like other nobles, and decided to teach him to use more than 1 element at a time. Liam then succeeded in casting 2 different spells at the same time the first time, which made Raymond feel like an interesting kid, while Liam realized that this is a technique called Enigma, and only 1 in a million people use it. Raymond then asked him to try to cast 3 spells at the same time, and he almost succeeded, but the spell was not completed, so Raymond told him that he lacked magical energy and praised his ability to learn in a short time, and advised him to learn to control his energy to be able to cast more spells. He then made him sit in front of him and drew a series of numbers on the floor, and told him that the puzzle technique only works with prime numbers. When Liam wondered why, Raymond couldn't tell him and told him to figure it out on his own someday. Liam then realized that magicians often get stuck trying to master 4 or 6 spells at the same time, and Raymond told him that if he could get past the 4 spells, he would have no trouble mastering 6 because of the experience he would gain, but he would end up stuck on 9. Raymond then cast several spells in front of him at the same time, and told him that the most he could do was 13 spells at the same time, and he aspired to reach 16. When he asked him if he wanted to learn more magic and found him still excited, he decided to give him a small ring. He then told him that this ring is basically an encyclopedia of magic books, containing the equivalent of 100 magic books, and once Liam put it on his finger, he was surprised to find that over 300 spells were flowing through his head. When he turned to tell Raymond how great the ring was, he found him out of sight, and Arena was walking towards him, warning him not to go out into the woods alone because a suspicious man had infiltrated the family's lands. Liam found her holding a magic book for him that his father had ordered wanted her to give him. He found that the book was about the magic of the first summoning. After she left, Raymond came back and told him that he hadn't gone anywhere but had disguised himself with magic. Then he decided to teach him one last thing before he left and asked him to open the book and cast the salamander summoning spell while wearing the ring. When he did so, Raymond told him that the magical encyclopedia had absorbed the contents of the book as if it were a notebook. Liam felt that the ring was an amazing tool and told him that he couldn't accept such a thing. He told him that the ring itself was nothing special, but it would save him the trouble of carrying books around all the time. As Liam absorbed more pages into the ring, Raymond quietly left. Before he left, he wrote to him to keep learning until they met again someday and asked him not to tell anyone about it. Liam decided to consider him his teacher, although he didn't know his name yet. A month later, Liam's magical level had improved dramatically. While practicing in the forest, Bruno came upon him and was amazed at his ability to make white charcoal using only magic and no furnace, and then found that he had succeeded in creating crystals that allowed the user to regain his magical energy. Bruno felt that his brother would be fine on his own in the future, and when Liam wondered what he meant, he was shocked when Bruno told him that he was getting married, and although he would have a girl from a lesser noble family, he would have more freedom. Their father's biggest mistake was that he wanted to have a girl after he was born so that he could marry her off to the royal family to secure their family status. But when Liam was born, he became obsessed with achieving something that would immortalize his name and sent 1,000 soldiers to defeat a powerful sealed monster, but they ended up losing. Bruno then expressed his opinion that their family was finished, despite their father and older brother's obsession with preserving their status, and advised him to think about achieving independence outside the family. Liam found that he would first have to make money for himself as a first step towards independence. After making a lot of money selling the items he made, he thought he should get something more lucrative. While he was eating, he had an idea and rushed back to the mansion to ask Irina to make a bowl of ramen. After she finished making it, he asked her to eat it, and she was surprised that it tasted good even though she did nothing but pour hot water on it, while Liam felt excited about the success of his plan since he had succeeded in making the ingredients of the ramen through the use of magic. He then went to the guild to sell his new invention to them, but the overseer refused to barter for something he owned, as only his older brother Albert could do business without permission. So Liam left in frustration. It turns out that Albert had deliberately gotten in his brother's way to prevent him from doing what he wanted on the family lands, and was jealous that he could learn the magic needed to make magical energy crystals. Liam, on the other hand, thought that his father would refuse to allow him to build his independence and that he would have to wait until he was an adult. However, he decided that he would sell his goods outside the family lands and store them in a magical goods box. He then decided to use summoning magic in a way he had never used before, and successfully summoned a replica of himself and sent him to the palace while he tried to sneak out of the family's territory to sell his goods and make more money. After that, the real Liam inside the palace is the one who makes the goods and gives them to his duplicate to travel outside the family's territory and sell them, and he finds that this is the perfect way for him to establish his independence and get out of the noble family's cloak. Over time, Liam learned to control his phantom copy in a sophisticated way and was surprised during his training by the arrival of his older brother Albert. So he hid his copy while Albert told him that his magical abilities have become the focus of everyone's attention, and when he asked him what he aspires to in the future, Liam hesitated to answer, but told him that he wants to be independent to find a good job to allow him to support himself. Then Albert decided to take him to the Adventurers Guild, where he was greeted by Albert. After Liam arrived at the guild, the adventurers greeted him with mockery, as he was just a child to them, while he continued on to meet the guild president, who told him that he knew a brief profile of him through Albert and would make him take an entrance exam. When the guildmaster asked him to try to attack him using magic, Liam felt he was in trouble since he couldn't use his full strength with his illusion, but he ended up leaving the guildmaster and everyone else in awe of his strength, and the guildmaster decided to give him a B-rank adventurer's license. When he came out of the guild after getting his license, he found a girl following him who introduced herself as Asuna and offered to join her to hunt monsters together. Liam was confused by her urgency, but he accepted the offer when he liked her personality. Afterward, they headed into the forest, and when he wondered why they weren't receiving hunting missions, Asuna told him that only adventurers with a rank of A and above were given missions, while they would have to find and defeat dangerous creatures to earn money. Liam summoned one of his magical creatures and used it to attack the wolves, and Asuna took the opportunity to finish them off. In the evening, the duo returned to the guild to deliver the wolves and collect the rewards. The boss was shocked to learn that they had defeated 42 wolves on their own, and decided to hire them for bigger jobs that matched their strength, assigning them to defeat a dangerous monster on a road that an important person will be traveling soon. On their way to the mission, Liam notices that Asuna is happy to receive her first mission from the guild, and at the same time nervous that they will have to face a giant caterpillar, while Liam thinks that he will be able to let loose today since he is not using his phantom version at the moment. The duo ended up fleeing after failing to defeat the caterpillar, as none of their physical or magical attacks worked against it. Asuna wished a meteor would fall on the monster and they could pretend to defeat it, but then Liam had an idea. When they returned to face the caterpillar again, Liam dropped a huge rock on its head and succeeded in knocking it down. When they returned to the guild, the boss was surprised at how quickly they had accomplished the task and told them that he would give them 5 times the reward they deserved. A few days later, Albert went to see Liam and was impressed with how good he was and that he was worth recommending him to the guild, and told him to keep working hard before he left, while Asuna felt that he looked like a jerk to her, and Liam thought that he must see him as a nuisance as the eldest son of the family. Liam was surprised to find James Stanley staring at him when he got out of the carriage, and after James asked to meet him, he was surprised to see him wearing Raymond's ring and thought he had gotten rid of it. But Liam told him what had happened that day and that he had come to think of him as his mentor. James was curious about his strength and asked him to attack one of his servants who was using a shield. When Liam cast his most powerful spell, he was able to break the barrier and knock the servant down. James, realizing his strength and that he was acting as an adventurer in order to be independent in the future, decided to knight him to help him easily achieve his goal, and Liam found that he was able to achieve his independence even though he would remain with his family until he reached adulthood. James then knighted him, thinking that he still had to escape the dilemma of Albert's hostility and that his father would be frustrated because he would surely aspire to use his power for the good of the family. He then advised Liam to try to help his father in another way, as his achievements would eventually return to their family, and then wondered if he had been pranked by Raymond, as he was known for his love of playing pranks on others. Liam remembered that when he mastered the storage spell inside the magic box, he found a message from him in the deep sea and was surprised that he expected him to master this spell, and told him that he scattered dust equal to 100 kilograms of gold and asked him to consider this as his graduation gift. Then he told him that if he felt bad about receiving his gift, he should guess why he chose to scatter exactly 100 kilograms and consider this question as his graduation test, and when he told James about it, he replied that this gold was just a disguise and that his real graduation gift is hidden even though it is close to him. Liam tried to retry the matter by sucking the lake water through the magic storage box, but he couldn't find the hole. Then he thought to separate the gold dust from the lake water, and when he did so, the gold dust fell in a certain spot, and then a magic circle formed in front of him, which opened a magical underground portal. Liam realized that this was the real treasure inside the lake, and when he entered, he found another letter from Raymond telling him that his real graduation gift was a magical book of the highest level, and although he had not been able to use it in the past, he was confident that Liam would be able to use it. He was curious about the contents of the book and decided to try his best to practice using magic. Hours later, he discovered that the book was a book of otherworldly magic and he couldn't master any of the spells in it, but he didn't give up. The next day, Liam succeeded in mastering the spell and summoning a portal, and found that it allows him to create a vast space in a parallel world according to his power and magical energy, and no one can enter the domain of this world without his permission, and he can store whatever he wants inside it. So Liam was excited by the idea that he could build a house or a secret base for him inside this world. A month later, Liam continued to work as an adventurer, eliminating various monsters with Asuna, and when they returned to the guild after defeating a huge frog, the boss praised them for being able to carry out a task above their level and expressed his gratitude towards Liam. Asuna's presence was recognized, but she quickly became discouraged and thought that she had to become stronger so that Liam wouldn't leave her behind. The boss suggested that she become his subordinate by entering into a contract with him, which would help boost her strength as she drew strength from her master, Liam. Asuna thought it was a good idea and did not hesitate to enter into a contract with him, while Liam was confused and told her that with this contract, she would not be able to disobey his orders. She told him that she trusted him, and the guild president witnessed their contract. After the contract was signed, Liam was surprised when she disappeared and reappeared behind him. She told him that her unique skill was activated as soon as they made the contract. He was curious to do research and learn more about the contract, but he would need someone to serve as a test subject. Asuna recommends a suitable candidate, and they go to meet Jody, who Asuna recommends as a veteran adventurer with high combat abilities, and Jody agrees to help him. After Liam made a contract with her, he took her to the guild, and everyone was surprised to see that she looked younger than her real age. They thought it was a unique skill she had acquired, but she told them that there was something else. Then she went to the kitchen and returned a few minutes later with a plate of sandwiches. The three of them left the syndicate, and Jody chose to give the sandwiches to someone who had injured his arm, and after he finished eating them, they were surprised that his injured arm had healed, and Jody told them that her unique skill is that her food helps heal wounds. After that, Liam went to meet James in his palace, who told him that Princess Scarlet, the first princess of the kingdom of Jamil, was coming, and told him that the reason for her coming was because she was very interested in him after learning about his super abilities as well as his ability to use 11 spells at the same time, and he told her that his unique skill is that his food helps heal wounds. When James told him that Princess Scarlet was interested in following him because he had contributed to their powers, he was furious and decided to refuse to meet her because he considered Jody and Asuna to be his friends and not commodities for sale, and he did not want to force them to do something against their will. And as he exited the room, Princess Scarlet, disguised as the maid behind James, found Liam to be an interesting boy and wondered if he could repeat what he had said to her face. A few days later, Liam went to meet Scarlet when she arrived at the kingdom, not realizing how important she was. After he introduced himself, she was curious about him and asked him to tell her how he defeated monsters like the giant caterpillar and the giant frog. Scarlet was impressed that he was able to defeat monsters without using high-level magic, and when she asked him to show her his contracted minions, he was confused by her pressure, as if she was trying to force him to do what she wanted. But he held himself together and apologized to her that he could not show them in front of her because they are his friends, and he did not want to make them a mere spectacle. Scarlet realized that he was interesting and told him that he managed to win her admiration, and then Liam was surprised to give him the title of Baron and told her that he did not achieve anything worthy of it, and she told him that he managed to entertain her twice, and that is enough for her. Then she gave him a magical book on the follower contract, and he was excited and expressed his gratitude towards her, as the book will help him conduct his research easily, while Scarlet found that he was more excited about the book than the title of Baron. Afterward, Liam sat alone and inspected the book when Bruno walked up to him to congratulate him on his baronetcy, thinking that this would anger Albert as he was now even more senior than their father Charles. In the evening, Liam came across his brother Albert on his way to the room and found him promising him something before he continued on his way, as he is jealous that he has so many positions and titles despite being the youngest brother. And when he found the maids talking about him, he became angry and told them to go and serve him. The maids were frightened, and when he asked them who was more superior, they had to tell him the answer he wanted to hear. He left, vowing that he would accomplish more than Liam. The next day, Liam was having breakfast with Asuna and Jody, his henchman, and everyone was giving him dirty looks. Liam tried to ignore the people around him and offered his followers to form a team. When they agreed to form a team of adventurers together, the three of them set to work taking down as many monsters as they could, and the girls noticed that their abilities had improved thanks to their contract with Liam. Liam then enhanced Jody's vision when he realized that she needed to improve her sight in order to be able to aim at her enemies, and she was able to see farther than before and was able to catch a distant monster in one fell swoop. In the evening, Liam and his companions were surprised when they returned to the guild and learned that Albert had removed the seal from a super-level monster, causing great chaos among the adventurers. And then he remembered what happened yesterday when he promised him that he would do something and rushed back to the forest again. In the meantime, there were many injured and dead soldiers among the soldiers, and Albert was among them. When Liam saw him in this state, he approached him, but Albert quickly became angry at him and told him that he would not fail here and would continue to fight. Then he ordered some soldiers to send him to the city. When they asked him what was going on, he told them that the dragon Radon, who was trapped in the forest, had been freed and started attacking anyone who got in his way. The president told him that the only thing holding them back from resealing him were his young children, as they were responsible for the chaos, and that the dragon would need a week to regain its full strength. While they were talking, they were surprised that Radon's children continued to attack the soldiers. To Liam's amazement, the dragons were the size of medium-sized dogs despite their small size. Asuna did not hesitate to fight them, but soon they were surprised by the disappearance of a tree after it was hit by one of their flames. Liam tried to use his magic to deter them, but to no avail. His followers felt that they had no chance, and Jody suggested that they try to run away, but Liam had another idea. After Jody and Asuna escaped, he summoned his otherworldly portal and succeeded in trapping the dragons inside and dispelling them. After Liam defeated Radon's children, he felt relieved because he thought he was about to die. Then the priest began to surround Radon to seal him again, and everyone was surprised to hear him address Liam in his hoarse voice. Radon wondered who Liam was, describing him as a small human with a big soul. When Liam told him that he was just a human, Radon said that his body and soul didn't match, although he didn't know why, and Liam thought that maybe he knew that he wasn't the same person who was possessing his body. Radon then told him that his life would be interesting and asked him to take him with him as he wanted to see how things would turn out for him, and told him that he would help him in his power level range, and Liam accepted his offer when he found that he reminded him of his mentor Raymond. Radon decided to borrow his soul for a moment, and then he was able to enter his body, leaving a mark on Liam's hand where he wore the ring, and he could feel his power inside him, and when he wanted to try using his magic, he found that he could cast 11 spells without the need for chanting. When he looked around, he was surprised to see that the priests were in pain. Radon told him to draw his magical energy into his body, and he realized that what was debilitating the priests was Radon's evil aura. When the guildmaster expressed his gratitude for Liam's help in removing Radon's threat, Liam gave him a handful of gold dust as an apology for the trouble he had caused the priests, and the guildmaster was so grateful that he wished he was the head of his family instead of Albert. In the evening, Charles praised Liam's efforts and thanked him for cleaning up his older brother's mess. When he asked what would happen to Albert, Charles told him that he would lock him up in a house for a while as punishment, and Liam thought that he might be disinherited in the worst-case scenario according to the guildmaster, and then Charles told him that he would receive an honor once the news reached James and Princess Scarlet. Liam then wanted to go and talk to Albert in his room, but he quickly became confused before he entered the room and heard him fuming that the family was finished after he failed to defeat Radon and Liam got all the glory instead. Liam realized that he wanted to protect the family with everything he had and decided to leave to go back to his room. The next day, he woke up after having a dream that he was practicing magic and soon realized that he had acquired a new spell. He rushed to the forest to practice the new spells and spent the whole time trying to perfect the spells and succeeded in summoning the young Radon again, but this time they would be his followers. When he asked her why she had come, she told him that she had already asked his father to give him a message that she wanted to reward him for defeating Radon and that she wanted to know how he was able to defeat a dragon as powerful as Radon, and told him that she might decide to declare him a hero depending on how he defeated him. When he told her what happened in detail, she was shocked and told him to keep it a secret between them for now, and added that she would give him a medal of the 3rd degree as the old people in this country would refuse to give him a title greater than Baron due to his young age and his lack of land. The next day, Liam received 3,000 gold coins and realized that Scarlet deliberately gave him this amount of money to force him to remain silent about his power. Liam was surprised to find that James knew that he could use holy magic, as the huge amount of money he received raised his suspicions, and he also knew that he absorbed Radon into his body, so he had to confess to him after he found that he knew everything. When James was curious to see one of his spells, Liam used a healing spell and realized why everyone reveres this type of magic, then told him the story of the 3 Dragons War, a war in which 3 dragons fought against each other and 1 dragon emerged victorious. Then he added that the war was decided by the victorious dragon using holy magic according to rumors, and then joined with a human, and that human used his holy magic to establish a country, which is their current kingdom. Liam stood blankly in front of James, having no idea what to to make of this story, and when he asked him what he thought when he mentioned that the dragon had joined with a human, he replied that he thought they had married and had a child, and James told him that this was what the others had thought at first. He then pointed out to him that the joining was what happened between him and Radon after he merged into his body and became part of him, and that with this power he would be able to rewrite the legend of the founding of the kingdom, and confronted him with his doubts about his family, especially his father. He then added that his family had gained noble status after his great-grandfather succeeded in sealing Radon, but if they found out that he had caused any harm to the founder of the kingdom instead of the dragon, the family could be disbanded. To Liam's surprise, they are about to be severely punished. While his father and older brother are obsessed with protecting the family's status among the nobility, all James can think about is that the dragon may be plotting revenge against their country. Liam remembered when Radon told him that he didn't care about human standards of judgment and wasn't angry about humans calling him an evil dragon. He told James that the dragon had no grudge against them, and James expressed his gratitude and called him the savior of the kingdom. Liam then encountered his followers and was surprised to find them dragging him somewhere. They told him that they had received many requests from more adventurers to join their group after learning that he had defeated Radon. Asuna thinks that they probably want to capitalize on his success, but it's up to him if he wants to recruit a new member. When he returns home, he's surprised to find that the servants have received many requests for girls who want to marry him. Bruno joins him and gives him the request of a girl from his wife's family who wants to marry him and tells him to try to convince him. When Bruno asks him what he did to get so much attention, he is surprised that they only want to marry him because he was able to beat Radon. Bruno didn't believe that was the only reason and suspected that something was wrong, while Liam thought that he had never been so popular before, not even in his previous life. Then he went to Asuna and Jody and accompanied them to the forest, and then they were surprised when he used the otherworldly spell and entered it and saw that he had built a big house inside. He told them that he had completely mastered the spell and that things no longer disappeared after it was done. Asuna admired everything in the house, while Jody wondered if they would be able to sleep in the bright light that surrounded the place. Liam tried to solve the issue by summoning a creature to envelop the house in darkness, but they ended up in too much darkness, so he turned on the fireplace to balance the light and darkness. Then Asuna thought that if spirits could grow like humans, that might help, and Liam had an idea. He used the magic of contracting with the dark spirit to grow to a medium level, which allowed him to control the degree of darkness he desired. The darkness expressed his gratitude and vowed to dedicate his life to his service. Noticing that he was wearing Raymond's ring, he told him that he could store it inside the ring instead of using the contract spell every time since he hadn't mastered it yet. Liam thought it was a good idea and stored it in his encyclopedia. He then upgraded the salamander and did the same with the other spirits, and was able to cast an intermediate level summoning spell without the need for a magic book. The next day, Liam went to the forest where Radon was sleeping. The dragon asked him to summon his child, and when he did, Liam was surprised to find that the little dragon had transported him to a place that looked like a fairy field. As soon as the fairies saw him with the dragon, they ran away. He tried to convince them that he was not an enemy and that Radon's baby had brought him here. They approached him cautiously until they realized that he was with the dragon's holy son. Liam told them that he came here at the request of Radon, who asked him to protect them from human exploitation. When he began to cast a spell on them, Radon told him that he had to give each of them a name, so he cast a contract spell on a green-haired fairy and named her Rena, who was surprised when she grew in size and turned into an elf. Radon told him that she had gained more power and magical influence than usual and asked him to name any creature he would make a contract with to increase his power in the future. So he started making contracts with all the fairies and giving them different names. When Rena asked him what they should do as his followers, he told her that he only came here because Radon asked him to and suggested that they create a village for themselves to live in and appointed Rena as the leader of the village. Then Liam began to feel weak from consuming too much magical energy, and suddenly he sensed a force coming from deep in the forest. When he went to the source of the force, he noticed something glowing at the top of a tree, and Rena told him that this is the effects of magical power and the fairies are constantly collecting it and condensing it in one place. He was surprised when she told him that he could eat it. As soon as he ate it, he felt magical energy flowing through his body and could cast more offensive spells than before. The next day, he went to the forest to visit the elves and found that they had failed to build a house similar to a human house. One of the elves was attacked by a group of bandits. Liam rushed towards them and attacked them with his magic, and after he succeeded in taking them down, he decided to transport the elves to his otherworldly realm. The elves were surprised to be transported to a place like a forest, but inside Liam's world. They all kneeled before him and asked him to become their leader from now on, and Rena told him that they would do anything for him if he became their leader. Liam hesitated for a moment, but agreed to become their leader. He thought he had to find a land where they could live safely. After 4 days, Liam was unable to master the sacred magic he had received from Radon. Then it occurred to him to transport his clone to another place and then try to transport himself and the others to the same place. He succeeded in mastering the teleportation spell and was able to travel to any place he had visited before or sent his clone to. Radon then asked him to use his logo on his hand, and when he did so, he was surprised by the appearance of one of the lands that Radon had already stamped and told him that he could use this space to establish a country or a private home. He decided to use this vast area as a land for the elf to live on, but the issue was that there was no water source. So he summoned the water spirit and used the contract magic on her and ordered her to find a water source for him, and she created an entire lake for them. After that, Liam succeeded in mastering the teleportation spell after a period of practice. Then he summoned Radon's children and decided to leave them to protect the fairies until his return. Then he went to meet Scarlet, and when she asked him if Radon had mentioned anything about the promised land, he told her that there are so-called sealed lands and that he had become responsible for a number of elf fairies. She asked him to take her there. Before they left, he asked her to let him try a spell. She took him to the court magician Golak to help him, and when he cast the summoning spell on him, he was able to create a fake version of himself and decided to accompany them on their journey. Liam told her that Radon had already sealed the place and used the illusion to make it uninhabitable. She wanted to ask Radon if this was the promised land he had in mind. Radon replied that he had never made promises to humans before. She told them that the legend says that eventually humans will survive extinction and come to live a good life in the promised land. She then took off her finger ring and said it was called the Key of Destiny. Liam was curious to take a look at it, and when he touched it, they were surprised that part of the land they were standing on rose until it was floating in the air, and then they realized that this is the promised land mentioned in the legends. Then Liam was shocked to find Scarlet kneeling in front of him and asking him to establish a country here and become its leader, and she pledged her loyalty to him and called him the Lord of the Promised Land. Over time, the elves begin to make great progress in building a village thanks to the instructions of the phantom version of Golak, while Liam protects the area and eliminates nearby monsters. As he fights, he notices Scarlet watching him eagerly and wonders why she hasn't returned to the royal capital. When he calls her princess, she asks him to call her by her name as she is his servant, and he tells her that she doesn't have to serve him because she holds a high position. She told him that legends say that dragon blood runs in her mother's family, so the women of the family are married to the royal family, and because she has dragon blood in her veins, she wants to serve the great dragon, Radon. Then Liam heard Radon's voice telling him to walk in a certain direction for a certain distance and he would find something that would appeal to her, and when they went to the intended place, they found a door leading to an underground area, so they went inside and found a metal replica of Radon. Radon told them that he was a guardian built in his own image and tasked Liam with defeating him. When Liam wondered how he could do it, Radon told him that he would have to remove one letter from his name written on the top of his head to change the meaning completely. Scarlet suggested to him that they should remove the second letter of his name to mean obey. Liam did not hesitate to attack him and remove the letter above his head, and soon he became obedient to them and knelt before Scarlet after he recognized the dragon blood that flows through her veins. After that, Liam returned alone to the village after she insisted on staying with the guard until his wounds healed, and he could not accept the idea of a princess under his command, so Radon told him that what he had to do was to gain the strength and status that would qualify him to serve her for him. Suddenly, he noticed a lot of smoke coming from inside the village. He rushed there and found chaos. The fairies told him that they had been attacked by werewolves, and soon a group of them appeared in front of him, and their leader called them intruders and ordered them to leave their sacred land. Before Liam could say anything, the wolf jumped at him and started attacking him. He had no choice but to fight back and stun him to make him stop. When he summoned one of Radon's pups in front of him, he panicked. Liam told the werewolves that he was an ally of the Grey Dragon who had ordered them to drive the intruders from the sacred land, and that the fairies lived under Radon's care as well. The fairy suggested they make a contract with Liam to be under his command, which made him feel uneasy because he would be in charge of so many creatures. When the werewolves didn't mind, he had to use contract magic, and their leader was transformed into a female wolf named Chris. Days later, the village was being built faster as the werewolves joined the fairies, and one day Chris rushed over to greet him and told him that they were repairing the buildings they had already destroyed. Liam looked at one of the buildings and wished he had magic to help him fix it himself. Radon suggested he create the spell himself by visualizing how the spell works from start to finish, and that's when he managed to fix a wooden board using magic. After that, Liam started using the concept of spell creation to develop his offensive magic, and Radon told him that he should start a country here if he wanted to learn more things and develop his spells. But Liam wanted to prioritize magic and was thinking about how to create a spell out of nothing without thinking about causality as the first wizard did. Radon realized that he was an interesting person, and that's when he was interrupted by Rena joining him to tell him that some humans had broken into the village in search of fairies, so he rushed to the village and found a group of knights wandering around looking for fairies. He stood in front of them and told them that they were invading his country. When they asked him the name of the country, he felt nervous because he hadn't thought about it before. When they ignored him and decided to continue on their way, he forcibly intercepted them and warned them not to go further into his land. Liam used teleportation to take them down one by one and ordered them to leave, then returned to the others and told Rena that he could take care of them. She introduced him to the fairies whose village had been attacked and told him that they had come for protection. He decided to make contracts with them to join him, but he was shocked to find that it was a swarm of fairies and ended up spending the whole day making contracts with more than 100 fairies, increasing his country's population. The next day, Liam takes a helmet from one of the intruding knights and asks Scarlet to look at it. She finds that the helmet bears the emblem of the Principality of Balta, a country on the border of the Promised Land, and they realize that the knights who broke into the land yesterday were just scouts. Scarlet expected scouts from Jamil and Conquistador to arrive soon after they were connected to Balta when the Promised Land returned, but she was still adamant about establishing a state here. Then she added that in order to establish a state, they would need a land, a people, and an authority, and since they have the land, they would gain the people by spreading rumors about the land, while the authority would require them to recruit knights to protect the state. Chris told them that werewolves could easily handle it, so Liam agreed to her suggestion, and they began to make a plan to keep the pace of building the country while protecting it. But the next day, they were surprised by the arrival of an envoy named Leonardo from Jamil. Liam was surprised when he told him that the king himself had ordered him to come to see him, and told him that the kingdom did not want to fight against his country, and wanted to form an alliance with them, and in return, they would offer him to marry Scarlet. Liam marveled at the country's high regard for him, and thinking that Scarlet's behavior clearly indicated that Radon had something to do with this land, he was curious to ask Leonardo if he had ever met Scarlet. Liam sat down and thought about how he could discuss the alliance with Scarlet without anyone noticing. He remembered his telepathy spell and decided to use it on her. Then he started telling her to keep calm and asked her if he should accept the alliance offer. She told him yes, as an alliance with them would give them at least 6 months to build the country, and Liam agreed to his offer to marry Scarlet, but asked him to give him a year in return. After their departure, Radon tells him that they need time to reevaluate the situation after realizing that they underestimated him, so he decides to use teleportation to visit Scarlet's palace in the royal capital. He found her welcoming him into her home, and when he thought to take advantage of his first visit to the capital by wandering around, she told him that he was now the ruler of another country and no one should see him, and suggested that they have tea together. Scarlet takes him inside the palace where there is a statue of Radon, a family heirloom. He tells her that he feels Radon's power within him and finds Radon telling him to use a dispel spell on the statue. When he did so, the statue moved directly into Scarlet's body and then returned again after she launched an attack using his power, but she soon felt exhausted after consuming a great deal of her energy, and Radon told them that this was a battle armor that allowed humans to use their energy to use their abilities. He told them that the reason is that this armor is one of the 3 great armors, while the others were lost in the war, and Liam thought about making a new armor, so Radon asked him to collect high-quality mithril. He then began to make the armor with the help of his creatures, and within hours he succeeded in making an armor that matched Scarlet's strength. Radon then asked him to tell her to enter into a contract with him, and as soon as she did so, the armor merged with her body to give her tremendous strength, and Scarlet continued to attack without feeling tired. Liam wondered if he could do the same with the old guard, and when he walked up to him and made a contract with him, he found that he merged with his body so easily that he could feel great power flowing through him, and he could fire an attack spell 37 times at once, but it took all of his strength. When the armor is separated from him, Radon tells him that he is the 3rd person to survive after wearing it. Liam is surprised that the model is so dangerous, while Radon tells him that when he succeeds in mastering it, the whole world will be his. After Liam regained his strength, he asked Scarlet to let him borrow the guard for a while, and she agreed to let him keep it and put it inside his storage box. Then he decided to return to the village while Scarlet told him that she would stay in the capital to check the state's movements regarding the alliance. When he returned to the village, he found that the first phase of construction had been completed and found Rena rushing towards him to tell him that there is a group of trolls living near their land according to Chris, and that they are huge, muscular creatures ranging from 2 to 3 meters in height. Liam remembered that he had heard some rumors about them, mainly that they are divided into good and bad. Rena told him that they are the violent type and expressed her concern about humans continuing to invade their lands, so Liam decided not to let them start a fight. Then she suggested that he try to convince them to join them, so he asked her to tell him their location so that he could go to discuss it with them. On his way to them, he noticed that the nature of the land changed as he moved away from his village, and he was surprised when he caught a small rock and was able to break it with his hands and found that it was iron ore. As he was inspecting the place around him, a large number of trolls appeared in front of him, led by Guy, so he introduced himself to them and told them that he came to recruit them to help him build his country. But Guy told him that they do not trust humans because of their constant lies. He pledged that he would not mistreat them and asked them to trust him, and to gain their trust, he told them that the elves had already joined him in addition to the werewolves. But Guy did not listen to him and attacked him without warning. He could only dodge his attacks because he did not want to hurt him until he ended up stuck between the holes he created and realized that Guy deliberately lured him into this hole after he underestimated him and thought he was fighting using only his body. Just as Guy was about to finish him off, Liam fused with his armor and managed to stay alive, which made him furious. Before he could continue the attack, he realized that his followers had completely collapsed, and Liam told him that he had almost hurt them because of his unreasonable anger. Guy had no choice but to listen to him after he expressed his goodwill, and when Liam told him what he wanted from them, Guy wondered why he had chosen them to join his people and replied that he expected many humans to come to his land, which could pose a serious threat to them in the future. Guy wanted to take a look at his village first. When he took them there, they were surprised to find him using a teleportation spell and Chris yelling at them, wondering why they were coming here and then attacking him and knocking him down. Liam asks if they know each other personally, and she tells him that he's always annoying her and they always end up fighting each other, and then she starts making fun of him because she was able to defeat him in one fell swoop. Liam told her that it was because her power had increased after he made a contract with her, which made Guy feel frustrated, so she became proud of herself and told him that there was no way she could lose to an idiot like him anymore, and suggested that he contract with Liam to become his disciple and get the power as well. Liam hired him, which made him even more powerful and more human looking, and he called him Guy, and Chris was so excited that she continued to fight with him in front of everyone, and they exchanged attacks with equal vigor. Liam decided to recruit the rest of his ancestors to give them strength and join his people. He named one of the trolls Gon, and thus succeeded in providing a force that would defend his land in the event of an invasion. The trolls began to return to their land and collect iron ore to transport it to the village and complete the construction of the houses. Chris struggled with the weight of the iron and couldn't carry it on her back, so Guy offered to help her and told her to let him do the physical labor, but she insisted on doing her part and soon collapsed from exhaustion. Guy carried the luggage for her, which infuriated her, and she told him that this did not count as a win for him. After they collected a large number of rocks, Liam summoned his beings to start extracting minerals from them. Liam found that most of the rock was iron, while the rest was divided into copper, gold, and silver. Frustrated by the small amount of mithril, Radon realized that it was a rare metal in the human world. Liam wondered if he could make magical battle armor out of mithril alone. Radon told him that the other metals were not strong enough, so he decided to try an idea despite Radon's warnings of failure, but he insisted on trying. Liam then began to conduct his own experiments using his various abilities and succeeded in making his battle armor in the shape of a sun. In the evening, he felt frustrated that he could not use the same name for his armor twice. Radon told him that naming is a primitive magic that anyone can use, but Liam's issue was that he couldn't think of many different names to make a large amount of armor. The next day, Liam succeeded in making 15 shields and distributed them evenly among the werewolves, trolls, and elves, making them all equally powerful. While Guy was training with Chris, Liam thought of having them form a team where they could combine their powers. Suddenly, a group of humans on horseback with elves in their sights appeared and felt that the village was a treasure because there were so many different races together, and their leader dismounted and ordered everyone not to resist them. Rina decides to take care of them and hires Mina to beat the crap out of them. Liam admires the strength of the elves after they get armor and expects that they will be able to protect themselves in the future with more armor, but the problem still lies in the name. Suddenly, he found one of the invaders tightening his grip on him to threaten the others that he would get rid of him, but he soon marveled at their indifferent reactions and ended up falling to the ground after he received a thunderous blow combined with Liam's magic, causing his followers to run away. Liam then went to his otherworldly realm and summoned as many water spirits as he could and asked them to separate the water of the village lake into salt and fresh. He wondered if something was wrong, and she tried to remind him that she was the first spirit he'd developed, and thanks to that, her world had expanded and she was used to possessing objects and influencing the human world. He wondered if she could possess bodies, and she told him that she could possess anything indefinitely, starting at the intermediate level. Liam told her he wanted to increase her power and used contract magic on her again until she was transformed into an advanced form of spirit called Zero, and she felt powerful and could now possess objects. Then he ordered his followers to make a shield in her shape and asked her to merge with him, and she succeeded in taking possession of the shield and possessing it easily. So he applied the same thing to the rest, who expressed admiration for the power they got from the shields and believed that they could protect everyone with this power, and decided to train harder so that their body could withstand the amount of power gained, while Liam felt relieved that he was close to completing the establishment of a state. When Liam returned to the kingdom, Asuna and Jody scolded him for going away without telling them. Then Asuna approached him and asked him to give them the money they had asked him to keep in advance, and he remembered the 3,000 gold coins Scarlet had paid him in exchange for keeping quiet about his use of holy magic. Then he gave them a portion of the money, and Asuna asked him to keep it for them. Back in the present, he gave them the money and wondered what they planned to spend it on. Then he was surprised when Asuna brought him a magic book and told him it was the only book in town that had no owner. When Liam examined it, he found that it was unlike any book he had ever studied. He expressed his gratitude to Asuna and Jody for bringing the book to him, and then told them why he had been busy founding a new country and gave them the choice of joining him or staying here and continuing to work as adventurers. They didn't hesitate to follow him wherever he went. Then he decided to start practicing and perfecting the spell in the newly acquired book, and within seconds, he succeeded in casting the spell amidst the amazement of everyone inside the restaurant. When Asuna asks him how the spell works, he replies that it is similar to a storage box spell, but it depends on the strength of the user. When the waitress brings the food, he wants to try the new box and stores a piece of meat in it, and after a minute he takes it out again, and then they realize that it is a poisonous box that makes everything inside spoil. Liam was puzzled and kept thinking how he could make use of such an item. When he saw the waitress holding grape juice, he rushed over to her, grabbed it, and thought he'd put it in the box along with some yeast. After 5 minutes, they found that he had successfully made wine from the grape juice. He realized that the box could produce yeast, pickles, and some other things, and he was curious to try it, so he started experimenting with the grape juice and put a different number of hours in each bottle. Then he had Jody take a sip from each bottle. Meanwhile, Liam felt jealous, as an evening drink in his previous life was a special day that could be celebrated annually. His thoughts were interrupted by Asuna slapping him for his suspicious looks. When Jody finished trying all the bottles, she told him that the first bottle tasted like a year-old wine, while the last bottle tasted like a 10-year-old wine, and Liam realized that the clock inside the dusty box was 1 year old. Liam then took them to his new country and had them meet all the people he had recruited into his village. They held a banquet to welcome Jody, and Asuna and Chris challenged Guy to a cooking competition. When Asuna tried all of their dishes, she found that both of them had prepared delicious food, and everyone sat down to enjoy their meal. The next day, everyone went to the forest to collect certain fruits from the highest trees, and Guy and Chris were in fierce competition with each other as usual. Then Rena scolded them for collecting the fruits from one tree, which will cause the next harvest to not grow. Suddenly, Gon was attacked by a zombie. Liam tried to help him and fight the zombie, but it was too late, and Gon was affected by his bite and started attacking Guy. Liam uses Dispel magic on him to restore him to his former self and successfully heals him from the zombie bite and ends up unconscious. Jody tells him that these symptoms are most likely a vampire infection and is impressed by his ability to cure him, as it is common for infections to be incurable. Guy and Chris ruled out a vampire attack since they couldn't move freely in the daytime, but Jody couldn't stop thinking about Dracula, a vampire born once every few centuries who causes the vampires who serve him to grow stronger and weaker in his presence. When Liam decides to start gathering information about these creatures, everyone is surprised when a werewolf tells them that he has spotted a horde of vampires 10 kilometers away and that there are more than 10,000 of them heading towards the village. Liam is shocked to hear the number because that's 100 times the number of his soldiers. The werewolf tells them that he saw ogres and goblins in their ranks, and Jody confirms that Dracula is the one who sent them on the rampage. Guy told them that they had to defeat the horde and prevent them from destroying the village despite their sheer numbers, and Liam agreed that everyone should do their best and ordered them to inform the neighboring villages to evacuate before the horde arrived. After everyone went to prepare for battle, Liam began to think that the situation had gotten worse. After a while, one of his followers informed him that the neighboring villages refused to evacuate because they were confident that they wouldn't lose to a bunch of scrawny vampires. But they were soon defeated by the vampires' numerical advantage, and the neighboring villagers joined them after being infected. Then he said he saw a different vampire appear out of nowhere, and the others bowed before him. Liam realized that this was the alleged Dracula they were serving, and Jody thought they wouldn't be able to get rid of the vampires until they defeated their leader, but Liam was able to figure out a way to deal with them based on the information he had obtained. In the evening, as the horde approached the village, the others were waiting for them, and they used their battle armor to prepare to engage them and succeeded in eliminating a large number of them after they joined forces and launched several attacks at once. In the meantime, Liam was watching from a distance, waiting for Dracula to appear. When the rest of them had taken out a large number of vampires, Guy ordered them to retreat, but before they could do so, Dracula appeared right in front of them. Liam goes straight to him and takes him away from the battlefield to prevent him from resurrecting his minions. He decides to fight him head on, but Dracula tells him that no one on Earth can stop him. Liam uses his magic to attack him and is surprised to find that his blows do not affect him. He then finds him disappearing and reappearing behind him, but he manages to avoid his surprise attack and tries to hit him with arrows, but to no avail. Before Dracula could bite him, Liam used his magic to summon his phantom clone, allowing him to evade him, and his clone took the damage for him. He decided to hold his trump card until the end, while Dracula admired his mastery of all the spells. Liam continued to try to attack him with his magic to buy time, but Dracula was unaffected and told him that he couldn't die because his very existence was against the laws of this world because he wasn't alive. Liam then realized that his body was just a vessel to consume the life force around them, and Dracula offered him to surrender and become his follower before continuing to attack him. Liam took the opportunity to put him inside the dust box and ended up trapped inside. Liam was curious to see how long he would last inside the box without life force. After 10 hours, he realized that he had entered a state of biotic deactivation and considered himself victorious in his battle against him. Radon was impressed that he was able to deal with the vampire leader with such a spell and decided to return to his companions to check on them. Liam returned to his companions after defeating Dracula and found that all his followers had suddenly stopped moving after he locked him inside the box, and their fangs had become brittle, which made his companions think that he had managed to defeat their leader. After Liam thought they were free of Dracula's control, he was surprised to see a strange aura emanating from them. Radon told him that this was Dracula's magical power and that he was still controlling them in some way. Liam tried to think of a quick solution and decided to try using the Dispel spell as he had done with Gon. He succeeded in freeing them all and returning them to normal, but some of them were still suffering from Dracula's magic. Radon suggested he use a large-scale spell to save everyone at once, so he summoned the guard to put on his magical armor and then cast a Dispel spell that covered the entire area around him and succeeded in saving everyone. However, Liam soon lost consciousness after draining much of his energy to use the spell. After a while, he regained consciousness, and when he asked Asuna how long she told him that he had been unconscious for an hour, and he was relieved to find that everyone was fine after being freed from Dracula's domination. One of the original vampires came forward and begged him to spare their lives, even if it meant taking his own. Liam told him that he had no intention of holding any of them responsible for what had happened and vowed to give them the ability to appear during the day. When he asked them to join his village, they were confused for a moment, but Liam told them that he wasn't Dracula, and all he wanted them to do was respect two important rules: do what he told them to do and don't cause any internal strife. The vampires felt safe and decided to give him their trust and live in peace in the village. Liam used his magic to give them the strength to withstand the sun and made contracts with them and decided to name one of them Alucard. 4 days later, Dracula vanished inside the box and evaporated into nothingness. Liam removed the box, and on the other side, a mysterious person was watching him through a crystal and was amazed to know that he was able to defeat Dracula on his own. He then ordered his minions to gather more information about him so they could take over the land, and he kept thinking about who Liam was and whether he would end up a hero or a demon king. The next day, Liam was in agony after having to make a contract with more than 10,000 beings to live in the Promised Land, and his mind couldn't find 10,000 different names. Over time, the village saw a building boom and began to turn into a city thanks to everyone's efforts and a growing population, in addition to Guy and his companions who protect the land and guard the borders and have a source of food thanks to Chris and the werewolf's hunting ability. Liam decides to see what they want from him, then realizes that Guy has just called him a king, and Guy tells him that it's a given that he's the lord of the land. He then openly asked everyone if anyone had a different opinion about Liam being the lord of this land, and everyone agreed with him amid Liam's confusion. And then they were surprised when Radon appeared out of nowhere to officially announce that Liam is the king of the Promised Land and the leader of the country amid everyone's cheers for him. Liam then went to meet Scarlet in her palace and found that she was waiting for him. When he asked her why, she told him that she had been investigating the situation inside the kingdom but failed to find any information and felt that the king and his ministers were deliberately hiding something. Liam suspected it had something to do with a secret and asked her if she would accompany him, but she chose to continue her investigation for a while longer. Liam left via teleportation, and when he was alone, he suspected that Radon knew something about why the kingdom was refusing to give up the Promised Land, and Radon was surprised by his observation. When Radon asked him if he knew what the Guardian was protecting before he turned it into armor, Liam quickly went to the place where he found it and wondered if it was protecting anything in particular. Radon asked him to fill the place with his magic card to know the answer, and when he did so, he found a secret entrance to an underground room. So he went downstairs and found himself inside another room full of writings and realized that it was like being inside a storage encyclopedia like his ring. Radon agrees and tells him that this is an ancient storage device that contains ancient and forbidden spells. Liam is excited to hear this, but Radon tells him that the more powerful his magic is, the more seals he will break. Liam was excited to go deeper into the place, and when he used his magic, he found the spells gathering around him as if he was entering a magic book. Then he decided to use 19 spells at once to see what would happen. Then he was surprised that a bunch of bubbles appeared around him instead of spells, and soon his spells disappeared as soon as he tried to touch one of them, and Radon told him that his magical power was nullified, so he tried to use any kind, but to no avail until he ended up being kicked out of the place. He went back inside again and tried to use his spells in other ways, but he found that the spells were absorbed and doubled by the bubbles, and Radon told him that this test was meant to make him able to coordinate between them to master the spell. He then suggested that he try to activate one old spell and use the other spells to intercept it at the same time, but Liam had the good idea to summon his phantom clone to help him pass the test. An hour later, Liam successfully mastered the spell in his own way and was able to use the ultimate power armor, a barrier capable of blocking any physical attack, and discovered that if he used it piecemeal, he could block more than one physical attack at a time. Radon admired his mastery of magic and told him that he needed to get stronger to go deeper into the cave and master more new spells, so he thought he would use causality and start visualizing the path of the spell to be able to fully master it, and that's when he mastered his first spell. And then he was able to master the first old spell he acquired from the encyclopedia and spent the whole day practicing with his imaginary copy until evening. Then he headed to his other world and started training to sense the presence of magic around him while thinking about finding a way to help him use his spells with less consumption of magical energy, while Radon realized that he was the most magic-obsessed person he had ever met in his life. A few days later, the village blossoms into a city and Liam divides it into points so that it doesn't look like a maze, and Asuna goes to him to tell him that Guy wants to meet him at point 17, so he uses teleportation to go to him. When he arrived, Guy told him that a group of people claiming to be emissaries from the Principality of Balto wanted to meet him. He wondered who was in charge, and then a man in a fine suit appeared and introduced himself as X, and told him that the king had ordered him to come here to propose marriage to his daughter Flora. Liam is embarrassed and tells him that it won't happen for the time being. X then motions for Flora to get out of the carriage and join them, and Liam is surprised to see her. X then tells him that she is ready to marry him right away. Liam is confused and wonders if this is how nobles marry. He then offers to discuss the matter further in the city. As they talk, he senses danger around them and immediately uses the absolute shield spell, but the attack is too big for him to stop it. Liam went to check on Flora and Radon told him that the attack was man-made. He wondered who did it, but when he noticed that X had disappeared, he began to have doubts and Radon couldn't rule it out. Liam decides to find out for himself and orders Guy to guard the area and keep Flora safe. He goes to Scarlet's mansion, and when he brings her back to the scene of the attack and sees Flora unconscious, she tells him she's never heard of a noblewoman by that name before. He told her exactly what happened and that he met a man named X and offered to marry her in the name of the Emirate of Balta. She told him that X is Balta's right-hand man, but he is involved in many covert operations. Then she realized that they were trying to trap him into marrying Flora so that one day he would be killed by a monster, since Balta is known as the land of monsters, and then they could freely invade the promised land. As they talked, Flora began to regain consciousness, and Scarlet approached her and found that she looked familiar, and after examining her, she realized that she was a secret child unrecognized by the Duke, as she had a mole on her chest. When Flora regained full consciousness, she had no idea where she was. Liam told her that he was the one who rescued her. When Scarlet mentioned the explosion, she immediately backed off and told him that she was dangerous and to stay away from her. Liam tells her that he can block any magical attack, but she exposes her forearm to him and tells him that she's already cursed and will die anyway, so she doesn't want to get them involved. Liam approached her and used the dispel spell on her forearm and succeeded in removing the curse, and Flora was surprised that he was able to remove it so easily. Liam asked her what kind of curse it was, and she replied that she was told that it was a curse that transforms its victims into monsters to serve the owner of the curse. Liam was surprised that Radon knew about it and mentioned that it was similar to Dracula's ability to gain followers by controlling them, so he decided that Flora should stay with them so that she would not be harmed again by Balta, and she felt grateful to him and could not refuse his offer. Scarlet then expresses her exasperation and tells him that the three neighboring countries are trying to take them for granted, while Liam thinks that maybe they're making a show of power and he should reciprocate, and he thinks about it until Scarlet suggests that he issue an official currency for his country. She showed him 3 pieces of silver coins and told him that one of them was the original coin of the kingdom of Jamil after Or. She explained the difference between them and told him that due to overproduction and industrialization, the features and details of the coin had faded over time, so issuing a coin representing his country would be a demonstration of the power of the promised land. Liam was convinced of the idea and decided to start making a coin using his spirits. After completing a batch of silver coins, Scarlet was impressed by the detail of the engravings and the quality of the silver. Then she asked him to make copper coins using pure copper so that it would be worth more after it was melted down. When he made copper coins, Scarlet was surprised that he was able to show the details of the coin with 50% purity and told him that he was the only one in the world who had this ability. Asuna and Jody then took a portion of the coins to the bank. When the banker asked where the coins came from, they told him it was the currency of Liam's kingdom in the promised land and would be distributed soon, and they wanted to determine the exchange rate. The banker was amazed that a coin of this quality would be distributed, and when they asked about his valuation, he told them that it was superior to Jamil's coin and decided that its exchange rate would be 1 to 3, which meant that its price would be 3 times more expensive. In the meantime, Liam sat reading the letter he received from the Adventurers Guild, and when Scarlet asked why he was frustrated, he told her that he had received a letter from his older brother after learning that he had established his own country and wanted to meet with him to make a deal. Scarlet was infuriated by his arrogant attitude and tore up the letter. telling Liam that he didn't need to obey him as he wasn't the head of the family yet. The next day, Bruno visited the city and was impressed by how developed it was. Scarlett suggested they go to the house that had been built for her. When Liam asked why he had come, he was surprised to see that Bruno was speaking in an official capacity, and that he wanted his permission to allow his family to trade in his country. Bruno told Liam that he expected his country to prosper because of its geographical location, and because he was the one who ruled it, and that his country could become a link between trade routes as well. Liam remembered that Albert had arrogantly asked to meet him even though he was not yet the head of a family, while Bruno came humbly to ask permission even though he was the head of a poor family, and then decided to agree to his request and discuss the details with him as the first friend he had after moving to this world. When he started communicating with Scarlett telepathically to ask for advice, she told him that there were two things he needed to do: to be kind to Bruno in terms of procedures and taxes, and to be strict with Albert because he underestimated him. After Bruno's departure, Scarlett expressed her admiration for his morals, and that he did not take advantage of his status as an older brother, while Liam was shocked after Radon told him that he was the author of the idea of stripping the nobles of their positions every 3 generations, which is why everyone aspires to achieve an achievement that qualifies them to maintain their status. He then admired his wise behavior when he consulted Scarlett when he was confused and told him that this is how kings behave, and warned him that he might be invaded in the future by people like Albert, and then he would have to fight. Liam thought that he should improve his skills in preparation for that day, such as learning more defensive magic and increasing his magical energy. Radon told him that his obsession with magic is what got him to this position, but magic has a drawback in that it can be suppressed, so he should strengthen his power all the time by using his magical energy as a source of power instead of forming it into a spell. Liam was then surprised by the appearance of a mysterious girl in his other world, and was shocked when he realized that Radon had taken the form of a girl to show him a demonstration of using magical energy as power, and when he tried to imitate him, he failed to fully use his power, although Radon was impressed with his learning speed. He then showed him a series of bubbles at his limbs and head, and asked him to saturate these bubbles with energy in 10 seconds with only 10% of his energy. When he succeeded, he repeated the process, increasing the percentage each time, and over time Radon was surprised that he was still enthusiastic about this training despite its difficulty. Liam thought that once he mastered this training, he would be able to use up to 100 spells at once and no one would be able to stop him, and Radon recognized his genius when it comes to magic. Liam continued practicing under Radon's guidance by distributing his magical power to different parts of his body in all sorts of ways, and after he was close to controlling his magical energy, Radon decided to move on to the next stage of training. When Liam wondered what he had done, Radon gave him a rope of light and told him that they would use it to play tug of war. When Liam tried to pull the rope, he found that it didn't move, so Radon told him that he had to rely on his magical power and not his physical one. Liam was able to pull it for a short distance, and when it was Radon's turn, he caused him to fall to the ground after he was shocked. He realized that he had to focus his entire focus on this training so that he could discover the power of others. Then he decided to use his power as much as the energy flowing from the rope. As he tried, he noticed that Radon's power was coming through the air, not the rope. Radon was amazed at how quickly he realized this and told him that there was something he should notice soon. Liam continued to focus on his surroundings until he realized that he was using the same magical power. Radon told him that when he went back inside earlier, he had left some extra magical power behind before he came out again. Then the rope disappeared, and Radon told him that the training was over, but the final test remained, and asked him to fire as many simultaneous spells as he could, and Liam was shocked to find that he could fire up to 30 spells at the same time, and he wondered how he was able to do it. Radon replied that it was because his limbs and senses had been refined after he learned to use his power more efficiently, and he had both strength and skill. After that, Liam's kingdom became larger and he decided to hold briefings just in case, and Rena told him that they had started building his own palace and needed large quantities of water and salt. Asuna was curious as to how Liam gets them, and he told her that he produces them from the seawater in the ocean with a storage box. Asuna thought that they should think of another way to get them instead of having to go through the trouble of collecting them every time. Scarlett asked the dragon Radon if there were any salt lakes or places that would allow them to extract rock salt, and he replied that there is a place towards the southwest of the city, as cows and sheep always gather in this area. After the meeting was over, Asuna thought it would be good to have an ocean as it would solve their water shortage, but Scarlett told her that Radon caused the lack of an ocean here after he dropped a huge landmass in the Balta region during the Three Dragons War. When Liam went to his other world, Radon asked if he could create a spell that would help them create an ocean. Liam thought that the spell he had in mind would force him to make large-scale terrain modifications beyond his magical power. He thought about borrowing some power from Radon, but Radon refused and told him to work on the scale he could achieve at the moment. The next day, Liam was able to create a pond-like ocean out of seawater. When Asuna tasted the water, she thought it was a salty sea and thought he had created it through magic, but he told her that he had brought it from the real ocean and modified the topography as much as possible, and Asuna worried that the place would dry out over time. Liam told her that he used the elemental box to keep it connected to the ocean at all times, making it constantly replenished. Asuna was excited and thought they should take advantage of the good weather to swim in the small ocean. ocean. Scarlet scolds her for thinking of using Liam's sacred ocean for recreational purposes, but soon changes her mind after she whispers something to him and asks him to let them swim. Liam ended up having a great time with everyone on the beach, and all the girls were showing off their swimsuits to him, so he tried to get away from them to get some alone time, but Chris rushed up to him and knocked him to the ground. She asked him what he thought of her swimsuit, and he was confused before he told her that it fit her. Asuna pulled him behind her and they went to play near the beach together. As time went on, Liam was having fun trying out different activities such as playing volleyball and beach volleyball. The next day, as Liam was walking around, he noticed Scarlet standing at the palace gate looking sad. He asked her if something was wrong, and she replied that her subordinate had just given her the unfortunate news that an area in Jamil Kingdom was suffering from a severe drought, and this area was her mother's hometown. When she asked him why he wanted to help them, he replied that it was better to try to coexist with neighboring countries than to earn their enmity, and then asked her to convey this offer to the king as his envoy. Liam then began to prepare the water to be sent to Jamil's kingdom. Sensing that something was wrong with Radon, he told him that he was worried that this work would be in vain in the end, as many people are unable to make wise decisions in such circumstances. Liam wondered if he meant that the king of Jamil might be like him, and then he found that the king had rejected his offer, and Scarlet told him that he thought his country could handle this kind of disaster. Radon suggested that they could help the king indirectly through rain, using sacred magic. Liam got excited and asked him to teach him the spell, then thought that it might mean he was using brute force, so he backed off and decided to use softness. Then he goes to talk to his brother Bruno as a noble from Jamil and asks him if nobles provide disaster relief. Bruno tells him that nobles are allowed to do so and recognizes it as an achievement to maintain the family's prestige, then realizes he's talking about the drought in the Aegean region. Liam is embarrassed before telling him that the king has rejected his offer of help and decides to send water to him to offer help instead. Bruno thinks it's a good idea, but it might take a few days to deliver the aid because of the cost. Liam tells him that he can pay only 10 silver coins from Jamil, which is how much the average manual laborer earns in a day, and Bruno is surprised that he is willing to help so cheaply. When Liam returned to his kingdom, Radon told him that someone from Jamil was trying to watch him to see if he would leave Aegean alone, and he felt frustrated that he could not teleport there because he had never been there. Guy then tells him that Jamil's soldiers and followers have been deployed, claiming that they are planning to hold the princess's wedding here and want to inspect the chosen venue. Liam decides to let them do what they want and orders Guy to keep watching them. Liam then thought of a way to send his clone to Iggy while he was still here. When he summoned his clone, he tried to change his appearance a bit, but to no avail. Radon told him that he could use a spell to change his appearance completely. He changes into his favorite singer, Amelia, and is able to send aid to Iggy undetected. He then sends Amelia to Iggy's area so that he can teleport to her. After a while, Liam noticed that his country was becoming more and more prosperous after tourists and merchants from other countries began to visit the city and interact with its residents, and he had many business relationships, starting with his brother Bruno, and his country was about to become a center of trade between the three neighboring countries. Then he noticed that he was being watched closely by the Jamil kingdom and decided that he should behave normally so as not to draw attention to him or make them suspicious. On the other side, Guy and his followers were collecting rocks and breaking them down into pebbles. Radon told him that they were doing this to create paved roads, and after explaining the process to him, he felt excited to try it with his magic. Then he looked at the people watching him and found them stunned by the idea of creating roads that were a meter thick. After the workers poured asphalt into the trenches, Liam used his fire magic and succeeded in paving a road within seconds to the cheers of his followers, then decided that he should pave roads outside his city as well. When Radon wondered why he was taking it so seriously, he remembered what happened in his previous life, where there was a peddler who visited his town regularly, and one day everyone noticed that he disappeared without warning, and it turned out that the wheel of his cart was stuck in a ditch, and if not for everyone's help, he would have had to abandon his cart and his goods, so he is interested in developing roads in and out of his city. Over time, he was able to pave a large stretch of road leading to his country, but he soon realized that this was not good enough, and when he melted 10 centimeters of the road surface, he found that it was uneven. He then used his spirits to level the road and tested it by pouring some water on it, and when he was sure that the road was even, he decided to apply the same thing to all the roads that had been created. The next day, Liam was so preoccupied with paving the road that he forgot about the people watching him. While the workers were at work, Liam thought about practicing his magic, so he made a bed of rope by tying it between two trees and tried to lie down on it, but ended up falling down. He tried it again and didn't give up until he could distribute his magical power based on his body position until it became easier for him. Radon then asked if he could notice that something had changed. Liam told him that he could feel subtle differences in the magic that he couldn't detect before. Radon told him that it was a difference in the ground proportional to his wavelength. Liam then thought about trying to sense the presence of those around him and succeeded in sensing the aura of those watching him, and was shocked to realize that all the neighboring countries had sent spies to watch him. Realizing that they were planning to antagonize him and possibly invade his country later on, he went to Scarlet's palace and asked her explicitly how powerful the three neighboring countries were combined. She told him that countries usually keep each other in check, so if they don't conflict with each other, Balta and Jamil would each send 20,000 troops to fight, while Conquistador would fight with all its might by sending 50,000 troops, and if Balta and Jamil's interests conflicted, they would each send 40,000 troops to invade a country. Liam felt he was in a quandary because he would have to face 130,000 troops between the three countries and only 10,000 civilians, so he would have to continue to act wisely to avoid a fight. Scarlet told him to rely on her for foreign policy. Then he began to think about the possibility of other countries sending agents to investigate his country, and when he used his magic sensing power, he found magical energy near the roadwork area, so he dug deeper and found authentic mithril stones. Liam felt hopeful that he would be able to make a large amount of magical armor and equip his soldiers with it to boost their strength in case of war and compensate for the numerical difference. He then ordered Scarlet to spread the news of his country's possession of mithril globally. Liam then began to focus on mining mithril and managed to extract enough of it to make magical armor for everyone in the city, but he would have to stop paving the road. He asked Rena if all the elves could use magic, and she replied that they lacked magic books to cast spells and learn new ones, and she wished they could mass-produce magic books. He remembered that his ring, an encyclopedia of magical books, was made of mithril, so he decided to use the excess to make encyclopedias and store books in them, and then he thought of creating a temple like the one guarded by the statue of Radon to store spells and become a place to practice magic. Then he had an idea. He went to a paved road, removed the surface layer, put a layer of mithril underneath, and put the surface back as it was. When Rena stood on it, she was surprised to feel a tremendous energy inside her body that mimicked her spells, and she could cast the spell without a book. Then she admired his genius in coming up with a solution that would allow everyone to use magic without the need for books or building a special temple. And after he finished paving the roads for the third time with mithril, his plan succeeded in getting everyone to use magic. He then created a telephone spell that allowed all those who contracted with him to communicate with each other across vast distances, and made Rena describe their city as a magical city, which ignited Liam's enthusiasm, and he saw that his city was ready to welcome anyone. A few days later, Liam's palace was completed as the property of the state, and Rena held an election to nominate those who would have to work inside the palace, making excuses to exclude other groups from running, and ended up appointing the elves as Liam's maids. Rena then held a lottery to distribute the tasks among the girls, and told them that there will be a lottery once a month from now on to provide opportunities for those who were not chosen this time. Liam successfully recruited Flora to live in his city as his bride-to-be, and taught her to use and cancel the light spell. He then thought of placing mithril in the roads leading to everyone's homes, as well as using it outside of battles. Flora objected to his idea and told him that it was a waste to use such a precious substance to benefit the common people. He told her that if they could ensure that their basic needs were met with mithril, they would think of more things to do to save them time. Flora felt admiration for him and remembered that her father, the Duke, would not think about the lives of the common people, and felt that life in this country is much better than her home country. He told her that he aspires to make this city a completely magical city. They were interrupted by Guy's communication that a group of people wanted to meet him, claiming to be dragon riders from Kestador, and Flora was surprised that such powerful people were in their town. He asks Liam if she knows them, and she replies that they are a group of knights who ride dragons, and their dragons obey them like dogs and have the courage of lions. Liam immediately goes to check it out, and as soon as he appears, the dragons start acting strangely, as if they are afraid of something. Liam wondered that the dragons feared him so much. Radon told him that they were afraid of him, and that his appearance in front of them had triggered their survival instincts. Then he found the leader of the knights standing in front of him and introduced herself as Sheila, and told him that she was the 19th princess of Kestador and the head of the House of Osterem. When Liam asked her why, she told him that she wanted them to understand each other by exchanging blows, and asked him to fight her now to determine if he was worthy of cooperating with Kestador's forces. He realized that she intended to ally with him in exchange for this fight, and found it a good opportunity to ally himself with one of his neighboring countries. Sheila didn't hesitate to attack him, and as soon as she disappeared from his sight, he was forced to go on the defensive, using the ultimate shield to protect himself from her attacks. When Sheila finds that she can't hit him with physical or magical attacks, she decides to get as close to him as possible, and although Liam can hear her voice but can't locate her, he manages to dodge her sword attack. Liam was surprised that his armor was unable to block her sword, and when she ordered him to admit defeat, he used his power to sense her movements, and Sheila was shocked to find that he was able to locate her before she appeared. Then he created a fog of energy and told her that her speed was too much for him to perceive, so he used the fog to track her. Sheila felt that he was an interesting person and decided to settle for this much after realizing how powerful he was, and told him that he was qualified to become a court magician in her country's royal court. Sheila admires his ability to master Radon's spells, while Liam thinks about the offer she's going to make in exchange for an alliance. When he asks her about the terms, she tells him they'll just have to sign a peace treaty. Liam felt it was too good a deal and wondered if she had an ulterior motive behind her alliance. Sheila soon realized that he was suspicious of her from his expression, and was curious to ask her about what had happened between her nation and Radon in the past. She told him that her nation was almost destroyed, so Kestador sent her here to find Radon's power, and when the dragons of her army trembled in fear at the sight of him, she realized that he had the power, or perhaps part of it, which prompted her to ally with him. Liam sat and consulted with Radon, but Radon told him to do as he pleased as the king of the state, and when Liam asked for his advice, he told him that it was wise not to increase the number of his enemies, no matter how strong his army was, so it was best to accept her offer. He shook her hand to announce the official cooperation between the two countries, and when she asked him about the name of his country, he told her that he had not chosen a name yet, and suddenly Radon appeared out of nowhere to tell her that the name of the country is Liam Radon, while she trembled in fear at the sight of him right in front of her. By evening, Liam and Sheila agreed to officially sign the agreement on another day after her return to Kestador, and he noticed that she was still scared since Radon appeared in front of her. After the end of the interview, he escorted her outside to guide her to the hostel where she would stay for the night. Sheila was surprised to see the houses lit up at night. He told her it was just a light spell and was shocked to learn that he had created a system that allowed everyone to use magic and felt like a city without night. He told her frankly that he found mithril and used it instead of magic books and put it all over the city. I realized then that his army is very powerful due to the availability of mithril, and I guess that he has a large number of magic crystals, but I discovered that he has no idea what they are. I told him that magic crystals are the accumulation accumulation of energy that flows when you cast a spell. It's like the residue of burning a candle, which makes the energy spread further into the air when you cast a spell and accumulates into crystals over time. Liam was curious to try it out, and when he used the light spell and found that he didn't waste any extra energy, he told her that Radon had trained him to use his energy so efficiently that his efficiency reached 100%, which is impossible for humans. After he dropped her off at the inn and started to leave, he wondered if it was really impressive that he could use his magic without wasting energy, and that at this rate, normal people waste a great deal of magical energy. Radon told him to cast a spell at random. As he did so, he saw a flash of fireflies streaming out of his hand. Radon told him that this was the wasted magical energy, and then found that some of it was accumulating on the ground, forming magical crystals. He used his sensing technology and found that he could feel a faint magical energy, and when he followed his sensation, he reached a certain area, and after digging, he found that a magic crystal had already formed, and when he asked Radon what he could do with it, he told him that it was useless to him as it would lose its power over time until it became just an ordinary stone. Liam was disappointed as he was hoping to make use of it, but Radon told him that it was a valuable crystal despite its lack of use and that it was worth many times more than diamonds of the same size. So Liam realized that he could make use of it and sell it as a source of income for his country. The next day, he summoned Bruno to meet him and showed him the magic crystals he had found and told him that he wanted to make a steady income from them. After explaining how his city worked and the availability of mithril, he was dazed by the amount of wealth he had. Bruno expresses his gratitude and promises to do his best to make as much profit as he can for him. When Liam looks at one of them, he tells him that newly formed crystals are in high demand among young people and newly married nobles. When he asked how long it takes for a crystal to appear, Bruno told him about 300 years. Liam summoned the dust box and told him that the 300 years would pass in 2 weeks if he put the crystals in it. After 3 weeks, they were surprised to find that the crystal had shrunk dramatically in size, yet it was more beautiful, and he realized that this is what happens to a crystal after 500 years, so he put it back in the elemental box. In the meantime, he sent a delegation of elves to Questador, including his phantom clone, and gave the precious crystal to the king as a token of friendship. He couldn't believe there was such a beautiful magic crystal, so he uncovered it and was stunned when his subordinate told him it was real. Liam hoped that it would go smoothly this time, and that his gift would not be misunderstood by Questador, while Bruno respected his wise thought of spreading peace between him and the neighboring countries, instead of gaining their enmity. After the elf delegation returned, Rena told him that everything had gone well, and that the royal family thought the crystal was valuable enough to be able to buy a large farm. Liam was relieved to find that the king had sent some gifts with them, which meant that a formal friendship had been formed between the two countries. Liam felt relieved that his plan to avoid wars against neighboring countries had succeeded, and found it was time to take a break. As he wandered around, he found Asuna and Jody walking towards him and telling him to come visit the Adventurers Guild every now and then, so that the three of them could have adventures together as before. He felt that it would be awkward to meet his brother Albert, and on the other hand, Albert vowed to make him come crying to him one day. Alucard was meeting with Scarlet and Flora, and they told him that Baltar and Jamil were thinking of changing their approach after their cooperation with Questador paid off, and Scarlet told him that they would do what they could while he continued on his way with Radon. Then he went to the forest to continue practicing magic after he chose to follow what he loves, which is magic, and Radon felt hopeless even though he became a king. But he realized that nothing compares to magic for him, and they began to practice casting a new spell together.